Hi everyone. Today I'm gonna presentation about Philippines and the Iran-US conflict analytical. So from the country profile, and first we're gonna start with national economic condition. The Philippines is classified as a rapidly developing economy in Southeast Asia with strong growth trajectory prior to the escalation of the Iran-US conflict, and the country's economic structure is dominated by services sector followed by manufacturing and agriculture. Manufacturing activities, particularly electronic and semiconductor production, contribute significantly to export earnings and employment generation. According to available economic data, the Philippine economy has historically maintained relatively high growth rate compared to many developing economies supported by domestic consumption, remittances of overseas workers, and foreign investment inflows. However, the economy also faces structural vulnerabilities, including dependence on important resources, infrastructure gaps, and exposure to global economic shocks. When geopolitical tension rise, these vulnerabilities can become more pronounced because external factors influence inflation, energy costs, and overall economic stability. From the perspective of international business, Dr. Collinson emphasized that national economic conditions shape how countries integrate into global markets and determine their level of resilience when faced with global uncertainties. So next we're gonna discuss about the position within the global trade, and the Philippines plays an important role in global value chain, particularly in electronics manufacturing and information and communication technology or ICT. The country exports semiconductor components, electronic equipment, and related technological products that are integrated into international production networks. Major trading partners include the United States, Japan, China, and other regional economies. Participation in global trade has helped the Philippines attract multinational corporations and foreign direct investment, which are essential for technology transfer and industrial development. According to Collinson framework, multinational enterprises locate their operation in countries where labor costs, market access, and institutional support create a competitiveness advantage. The Philippines has benefited from this feature, allowing it to participate actively in global production networks. And next, we're gonna move to the energy dependency, oil and gas. One of the most significant structural vulnerabilities of the Philippine economy is its high dependency on imported energy resources. The country relies heavily on imported oil and petroleum products to meet domestic energy needs. Reports indicate that the Philippines maintain fuel reserves sufficient for approximately 45 days, which illustrates the country's limited energy buffer, and this dependency creates a direct link between global geopolitical tension and domestic economic stability. So when conflict occurs in major oil producing region, international oil prices tend to rise, increase transportation costs, electricity prices, and overall production costs. And as a result, inflationary pressure may increase and economic growth may slow. And in response to escalating tension in the Middle East and concern about the energy supply disruption, the Philippines government declared a national energy emergency in 2026. This decision reflects that the country's vulnerability to external energy shocks and highlight the importance of energy security in maintaining economic stability. So this is also according to Collinson analysis of international business environment. Energy availability and cost stability are critical factors influencing national competitiveness and corporate decision making. So countries with high dependency on imported energy are more exposed to geopolitical risks, which can influence investment decision and long-term economic planning. So next we're gonna move to country's relation with Iran and the United States. First, we're gonna discuss from diplomatic relation. So Philippines maintains diplomatic relations with both Iran and the United States. Although the nature of depth of this relationship differs significantly. Relations with Iran are generally cordial but limited in scope, so diplomatic engagement between the two countries primarily focuses on political dialogue, cultural exchanges, and limited economic cooperation. In contrast, the Philippines maintain a long-standing strategic relationship with the United States. This partnership is rooted in historical ties, security cooperation, and shared geopolitical interests, so the two countries maintain regular diplomatic engagement and collaborate on economic development, defense cooperation, and regional stability. And from an international business perspective, diplomatic relations influence the political risk environment in which multinational companies operate. Collinson highlight that stable diplomatic ties and political cooperation reduce uncertainty and create a favorable climate for international trade and investment. So next, about the trade relation between the Philippines and the United States are extensive and economically significant. The United States is one of the Philippines' largest trading partner, importing Philippine electronic components, manufactured goods, and agricultural products while exporting machinery, technology, and industrial equipment to the Philippines. Trade relations with Iran are far more limited. Economic interaction between the two countries have historically focused on energy and diplomatic cooperation rather than extensive trade exchange. So the consequence is fluctuation in Iran-Philippines economic ties have a relatively small direct effect on the Philippine economy. However, indirect impacts can still arise because geopolitical conflicts involving Iran can affect global oil prices and international trade routes. So Collinson's theory emphasizes also that even countries with limited direct trade relation may experience economic consequences through global market interdependence. So next, about the geopolitical alliances. So geopolitically, the Philippines is aligned closely with the United States and other Pacific allies. The country participates in regional security frameworks and defense partnership designed to maintain stability in the Asia-Pacific region. These alliances provide both security guarantees and strategic advantage in international diplomacy, and the strong geopolitical alignment with the United States also strengthens economic cooperation and investment flows between the two countries. And the international business theory suggests that the geopolitical alliances often shape patterns of trade, investment, and corporate expansion. And the last we're gonna discuss about the impact of the Iran-US conflict on the Philippines. From the economic impact, the escalation of conflict between Iran and the United States has created economic uncertainty that affects many countries, including the Philippines. Rising global oil prices resulting from geopolitical tension increase production costs, transportation expenses, and electricity prices within the country. So, economic analysts have suggested that Philippine economic growth rate could slow significantly if energy prices remain elevated for a prolonged period. Inflationary pressure may also increase due to higher fuel and commodity costs. According to Collinson's framework, geopolitical risk is one of the external environmental factors that shape international business environment. So when political instability affects global markets, company and government must adjust their strategies to manage economic uncertainty and protect long-term growth. And from the international trade is also affected by the Iran and US conflict because disruption in shipping routes and rising logistic costs influence global supply chains. For an export-oriented economy like the Philippines, this disruption can affect the competitiveness of domestic industries, particularly electronics manufacturing. Increased transportation costs and delay in supply chains may reduce for profit margin for exporting firms. Companies that rely on imported intermediate goods may also experience production delays and increased operational expenses. So Collinson also emphasized that the global supply chains are highly sensitive to geopolitical instability. When disruption occur, firms must adapt by adjusting source strategies, diversifying suppliers, or relocating production activities to reduce risk exposure. So next, from the business and investment side, the conflict also affects business confidence and foreign investment flows. And multinational companies tend to delay or reconsider investment decisions when geopolitical uncertainty increases, especially in the countries that are vulnerable to energy price volatility or trade disruption. Rising operational costs can reduce profitability and discourage new investment projects for businesses already operating in the Philippines. Higher energy costs and supply chain disruption may require operational adjustment to maintain efficiency and competitiveness. International business theory highlights that investment decisions are strongly influenced by political stability, market predictability, and resource availability. When these factors become uncertain, companies may adopt more cautious approach to expansion and capital allocation. Last is from the impact on business strategy. From strategic perspective, companies operating in the Philippines must adapt to the changing global environment, and Calasan also argues that firms engaged in international must incorporate geopolitical risk assessment into their strategic planning process. Business may respond to the conflict that by diversifying suppliers, investing in energy efficiency technologies, and developing contingency plans to manage supply chain disruption. Some firms may also explore alternative markets or production location to reduce dependence or on vulnerability supply routes. In addition, government policy responses, such as the declaration of national energy emergency, can influence corporate strategy by encouraging business to strengthen risk management practice and improve operational resilience. And ultimately, the Iran and US conflict illustrates how geopolitical tension can influence economic performance, trade flows, investment decisions, and business strategy, and managing this risk requires a coordinated action between government, institutions, and private sector actors to maintain economic stability and support long-term development.